Chris Nolan and David Goyer, that brought us the Blockbuster Dark Knight trilogy, have now put out The Man of Steel. They are throwing in your face the memes that the global elite are actually obsessed with. Genetic engineering, eugenics, world government, terraforming, it's all there. And I'm going to break down the dichotomy between the messages in Superman, the Man of Steel, and World War Z with Brad Pitt. The director and the writers of The Dark Knight, especially in the third installment, put out deep French Revolution, Illuminati, Jacobin ideology. For someone that has researched this information, it was a very disturbing film and shows that the writers and the director have a deep knowledge of what's going on in secret societies. And that's why it's so shocking to go see The Man of Steel, which is undoubtedly the best comic book adaptation to film I've ever seen, and had about a 98% rating towards pro-liberty. There are very few things that are pro-globalist, anti-human propaganda in the film. My main criticism is it shows the FBI paramilitary pointing guns at Lois Lane in her face as if she's a threat and done something wrong, and basically kidnapping her. So it does promote the police state. But other than that, from A to Z, this film is a revolution against the goals of the globalist. Another criticism that some students of esoteric knowledge can bring forth is that it is a pro-Antichrist film, though I disagree with that view. You have the God-man who falls from the stars to earth. He is 33 years old when he's forced to go public to save humanity. In the original 1933 writing, he's clearly a Christ figure whose father is named Joseph and whose mother is named Mary. And the makers of this new film and the writers admit that he is a Christ figure. But I wouldn't call him an anti-Christ figure because he supports free will and he supports the general humanity. Whereas the true Antichrist figure, I would say, is more represented by General Zod. General Zod, though, believes that he should control creation and wants to terraform an already living planet to re-engineer it, to recreate Krypton here on Earth. Jor-El, Superman's father, represents the archetypal Renaissance figure of renewal or expansion and liberty, who is blocked by the Krypton Council and other corrupt forces from trying to save his species. So the film also points out that the ruling elite is stagnant and corrupt and is not infallible and is the greatest threat to humanity. Jor-El also criticizes the genetic engineering of the species into specialized eugenics-based groups instead of allowing natural development of the species. Let me introduce the Paul Revere scale now that we're going to begin using in Infowars.com movie reviews. The more horses, the more pro-liberty, pro-human empowerment the film is. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give Superman, Man of Steel, 9 horses. There are literally hundreds of deep archetypal messages in this film. And regardless of what you think about it, it is deep on many, many levels. Superman, and this is a spoiler alert, at the end takes out a Predator drone that is spying on him and explains that it's wrong to violate people's privacy. There's a lot of pro-liberty messages. Also, as a child, he has X-ray vision, so he sees people's beating hearts, their skeletons. And that's a metaphor or an allegory of people that are very in tuned and intelligent who are actually driven mad by how complex reality is. And it's an allegory of the burden of the highly intelligent who are not predatory and who don't decide to use their advanced intelligence to suppress and dominate the rest of humanity. Overall, it's an anti-centralization message. It's an anti-military industrial complex message. It's an anti-eugenics message. It's an anti-stagnant, inbred, monopoly elite message. The message is we must have a renaissance and reach for the stars. And overall, it is one of the most positive films I've seen in a long time. And it follows a rebellion in Hollywood that I have been basically informed of from multiple high-level sources over the last few years, that they're tired of the left-right paradigm, that you're either a liberal, socialist, communist, anti-gun person, or you're allowed to be kind of a neocon, warmonger, conservative. The people are voting with their dollars, voting with their eyes, with what they watch, and we are forcing more and more wholesome messages to come out, like Ed Asner in the movie Up, like Oblivion. I'm not even a Tom Cruise fan, but that message is anti-tyranny, anti-technocracy, anti-compartmentalization. And there's more and more of these films coming out, like Elysium, that is absolutely exposing the robotic technocracy. Now let's look at World War Z. I was able to get some of the early scripts about 6 months ago. We also have the book, which I've read, World War Z. And now they've gone into multiple rewrites and reshoots. So as the film prepares to come out, we are not 100% exactly what's in it. But we do have the earlier versions, and they're very similar to the book, which is an anti-human, pro-elite, pro-mass extermination manifesto that I can only describe as ultra-Hitlerian. They say in the book and in earlier versions of the film that there's nothing worse than American militias and gun owners. And thank God the zombie apocalypse happened, because at least it reduced the numbers of humans worldwide and allowed the UN to invade America and put gun owners and families in concentration camps. They praise communism in the book and in the earlier screenplays. It is a piece of authoritarian pornography. And despite the fact it has a mega budget and Brad Pitt is behind it, I predict this film will not perform as good as other films that have more wholesome messages. People are sick of the psychic poison. The globalists want to turn off our life force, turn off our self-preservation instinct. They want to teach us it's sexy and cool to be anti-human. And in the book and the earlier screenplays, they talk about how being cold-blooded and exterminating masses of people and feeding families to the zombies was the smart thing to do, and how the United Nations used the crisis to bring in their global government and finally crush right-wing libertarians in America. And then you look at the big mega banks that control the world and are setting up global taxation, and who are above the law and exempt through the UN and have diplomatic immunity. This is what they're promoting. There's going to be a worldwide biological release that reduces world population, and that the UN will manage the globe during this crisis. This is all basically a Jim Jones Kool-Aid drinking drill. Jim Jones had his followers in Guyana hundreds of times drill drinking the Kool-Aid, until finally they put the cyanide in it and everybody poisoned themselves. And that's what this is. Just get ready for a major collapse. And those of you that work for the technocracy, who are specialists like the Brad Pitt character, you'll get to go be on the ships safe from the bioweapon release. You'll get to go to the underground bases during the mass calamity and collapse that is coming. And then I researched their underground seed banks, their martial law plans. They're actually gearing up for something like this. And they've got all these scientists and top police and military signed on to believing they're going to be protected during all this. I have not seen it yet. It's coming out tomorrow. But I've read the book, seen the early screenplays. I would have to give it 0 Paul Reveres as an anti-human treatise, selling the zombies as the liberators of humanity, selling the image of humanity as a bunch of walking dead. Thoroughly disgusting. So I give World War Z 0 Paul Reveres. So World War Z is a dress rehearsal for worldwide planetary genocide and a re-engineering of our planet. They're selling General Zod's takeover as a good thing in World War Z. And so that's why I hope that World War Z is a failure. and that positive films like Oblivion and Man of Steel and Up and so many others become the norm, because there's a fight for the heart and soul of Hollywood right now. And regardless of what you think about Hollywood, it is the worldwide propaganda channel of the globalist. And you're seeing a spiritual fight, a cultural fight for the future of humanity taking place right now. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. This is another film review. Superman, the Man of Steel versus World War Z, only at Infowars.com.
Now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.